I think it's a very vulnerable thing for somebody to come to you and say, okay, these are my insecurities. This is what I don't like about myself. And them trusting us to help that. It feels like such an honor, and it's very fulfilling. Like if you can give somebody an ounce of confidence, we did our job, and it's really fun.
This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, a show for people ready to turn visions into realities and ideas into businesses. Hey, I'm Luke Henry, and each week I lead conversations with Main Street dreamers who took the leap to launch a business, renovate a building, or start a movement. Their ideas, their mindsets, and their inspirations, as well as some of the highs and lows along the way. This is a place for dreamers, creators, developers, and entrepreneurs to learn, share, and be inspired to change your community through small business. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, this is the Main Street Reimagined podcast. Thanks so much for being with us again this week. I'm Luke Henry, and I am very excited to have not one, but two guests in the studio with me today. I have Haylee Nicolosi and Tracy Crabtree. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
So Tracy and Haylee have Beyond Beauty Lounge here in Downtown Marion, and so they offer various beauty-related services. So they're kind of like two things under one roof. So Haylee does various waxing and brow artistry, and I'll let her talk about that a little bit here in a minute. And then Tracy does cosmetic tattoo, fine line, and dainty tattoos. And so, so some cool stuff, and they'll talk about that. And I'm also excited to hear or to have them share a little more about their story. So again, thanks so much for being here, ladies.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's start with a little bit of info. If somebody hasn't heard of Beyond Beauty Lounge before, and they walk through your front door, what would they find?
A really unique atmosphere, really. Our goal is to really just bring out like the inner confidence and beauty of women. There's like, I don't know, no other space around town I feel like that provides the services we do, and just they get to express themselves like uniquely, like through tattoo, through their brows, and not have to, like the services stay longer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we went with a bolder choice in the aesthetic of it, where we wanted to stay away from like kind of the light, airy aesthetic that a lot of places have. We wanted it more moody, and we tried really hard to just be ourselves completely. And we get a lot of compliments on like how we've decorated the place, and how that's probably our biggest compliment is just
for sure
how comfortable it feels when people are there.
Yeah, it's very bold. And what's really fun is to think back when you took the space over. So this was, for folks that don't know, this was like a counseling office when the ladies took it over, and it was kind of like dingy and dark and just sort of old feeling and
very dated.
Yeah,
and smelling.
Yeah. But it was so fun to like walk through with you ladies and see your vision, and you kind of put together some different like kind of mood boards and colors and things, and I was really excited. I mean, I could see it instantly what you were going for, but it actually turned out a lot better even than what I imagined it would. Would you say the same? I mean, was it everything that you imagined?
I think we're still adding
every
and
day.
changing and have so many ideas. We painted one of the walls like twice, two different colors, because it just wasn't. It didn't feel right the first time. So lot of painting.
We painted a whole wall like 3 coats and then wallpapered over it. So
okay.
Yep.
So it's been evolving. Yes. Do you think that you've found the groove now? or are you still?
I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
I think it's
I mean, we
little
have our
things.
groove, but we
Yeah.
always want to improve and add more to the space. So
Yeah. So, I mean, share your perspective when you first like walked in and you were trying to kind of like envision like what it could be. I mean, talk about that process a little bit sort of in your own heads and then how you were talking about it and stuff like that.
I think, so me personally, my husband renovates, so I've lived in renovated homes. So it's easy for me to see the vision of a space or the potential. But describing that to other people or like showing pictures, they're like, you're going to put rooms that they don't really see the connection, but, I'm really good about just trusting the process, and it works for me.
Yeah.
Personally.
yeah, and our tastes are pretty similar overall. So it wasn't hard to mesh together and like come up with a fun out atmosphere that we've created, really.
Yeah. I love that. So, tell a little more, I gave kind of the overarching what Beyond Beauty Lounge is, but each of you share a little more about kind of exactly what you do and for whom and all of that.
So I'm an esthetician, and I graduated back at the end of November from Aveda. And for me, I wanted to find, because aesthetics can be a congested industry. There's so many different things you can do. And when I was trying to pinpoint, because I didn't want to be a jack of all trades, I wanted to find a couple of things I was really good at and just make it my thing. So I know, like, for me personally, I was driving to Columbus for waxing. My friends are even brows. Like, there's people that do brows, but it's like they'll do a multitude of services and brows. And I think knowing how I am about my own brows and how it's a lot of anxiety around eyebrows, I wanted to bring those things to Marion because there wasn't anybody else only doing that. And it saved just the convenience of bringing even just waxing has been great.
Yeah. And you've seen a great response so far.
Yes, I have so many people, they'll come in, they'll be like, oh my gosh, you are saving me so much time. The drive, just having it here, it's the convenience.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. So many of our guests so far, and then some down the road as well, their journey has basically been, hey, we don't have this thing here in Marion, and I would like to have it. And some people in my circle would like to have it. And I believe that it would go. And why shouldn't we have this here locally?
Yeah.
And so I just love that thought process. And I love your boldness in finding that niche and you're really going all in and recognizing where there's a need and an opportunity in our community to bring something special and something that has previously only been available in bigger markets and, bringing it downtown here. So how about Tracy? Tell a little more about what exactly you do and all that.
So I started out doing cosmetic tattooing in 2021. I had a really positive feedback with it, and there's really nobody in town doing it now. The girl I work with was doing it, and then she essentially went back to work full time. She was just kind of done with it, but there's nowhere in town you can receive permanent makeup cosmetic tattooing, and I guess I kind of went into it thinking that as well, you have to drive to Columbus or Cincinnati, Cleveland to get these services, and they charge you an arm and a leg. Yeah. So, people pay up to $1,000 sometimes for these services. And I wanted to make it affordable for people in our area. I didn't want them to have to spend an arm and a leg or, get a credit card out just to get their darn eyebrows done. So that's really where I started out the cosmetic tattooing. And then after a couple years of doing that, I had been practicing on fake skins and friends and on fine line and dainty tattooing, because drawing hair on people's faces gets a little boring, and I like to be adventurous sometimes. And so once I felt confident enough to offer it to the public, I started doing the fine line and dainty tattoo.
So that's something just here recently.
Yeah, in the last year I started doing that. Yep.
That you're doing. And so if somebody's like me and they don't know all that much about cosmetic tattooing, I mean, share a little more about the applications of that.
Well, I mean, it goes all ways. So you like skin type, you have to really focus on people's skin type because, you know, they won't heal if their skin's too oily or too dry. Inks can bleed. You can get the service done and it just not stay at all because your skin's too oily and washes it out. And then skin, like color, you got to like match the inks to make sure it matches with their hair type and their skin tone. Because if you go to someone who's not educated in their ink types, like you could have healed brows that turn purple or blue, and nobody wants to walk around purple or blue eyebrows.
That feels like not
Yeah.
something
Big no.
desirable.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of educating. I continue my education all the time.
Wow.
So it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is primarily like for eyebrows. Like
I do
thickening up.
eyebrows, eyeliner, and I do lip blushing. I do different types of eyebrows too. So, you know, if somebody wants to come in who has sparse brows, I can tattoo hair on them to look like it's actual hair, or I can tattoo like a shadow appearance on their eyebrows to make it look like makeup. So it's really whatever they desire. I can usually provide it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is super fascinating. And here again, like something that's really not offered in our area.
Right.
And so, I mean, this is something that potentially could be a regional draw, right? I mean, I assume that if we don't have it in Marion or didn't previously, then they probably likely don't have it in smaller markets around us, some of the other small towns, right?
Yeah.
So are you seeing some of that, or is your reach been primarily like Marion area thus far?
I've gotten clients. Like I had a lady today drive an hour to come see me. Sometimes people come from like Mansfield, Columbus, Findlay. I mean, I've seen them from all over, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to meet new people that are willing to travel that distance to have
Right.
a service done. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so since each of you have like such a distinct niche, I mean, how are people finding you primarily?
I think word of mouth
Absolutely.
goes such a long way. We post on social media. We don't have like a marketing team. We are fully going into this blind, and we've had a great response. But I think it really just comes down to the support of like your clients and people who haven't even come to see us. I had a client one time, and she's like, "Oh, you know so-and-so," and I'm like, "No," and come to find out, I never even did her brows. She was just like, "Oh, I seen it on Facebook. It looks amazing." But just really word to mouth. Like
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients from Upper Sandusky area.
Yeah.
I don't go to Upper Sandusky, so but I have a client who's from there, and she just talking about it, posting about it, has brought so much clientele here, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it is amazing. Just if you do something really, really well, word gets out about it, right? I mean, and it can be slow sometimes, and sometimes that's frustrating as a new business owner. But if you continue to just do the right things and take care of people and do it in a way that you make people feel good and make them feel beautiful. I mean, again, that's what I love about your business and similar businesses, just the gift you give to people, like through your service and how it makes them feel about themselves and the confidence that it gives them. So that's really special. And
I think
so
it's a
I love
very
that.
vulnerable thing for somebody to come to you and say, okay, these are my insecurities. This is
Right.
what I don't like about myself. And them trusting us to help that. It feels like such an honor, and it's very fulfilling. Like if you can give somebody an ounce of confidence, we did our job, and it's really fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely love that perspective. Okay, so so you shared a little bit about specifically what you do, but I mean, I'd love to hear kind of the backstory here. So what led you kind of through your growing up? Like when did you decide that you had an interest in these types of services, and then how has your road ultimately led you to having this business here?
For me personally, I worked for a local podiatrist for, I think it was going on 7 years. And I was kind of established there. I felt I kind of already put my eggs in that basket. And if I'm being honest, my grandpa, who was like my father, he had passed away. And I feel like it threw me into this like spiral. And I noticed I've always loved the direct patient care. I loved just like meeting people. And I always had really good relationships with patients. And the further that I would grow within their office, I felt like the further it pushed me away from that direct patient care. And I was just kind of at a point where I was like, I don't know if I want this. Like my cup wasn't feeling full any longer. And that's kind of what threw me into like, I have to change it. I've talked about aesthetics before. My husband's military, so we looked into different options and benefits that they provided, and Aveda was under it. And it wasn't really, I'm a very sporadic person and very impulsive. So it was just kind of, I talked about it, and within a month I was enrolled in school, and I put in like an 8-week notice, which they left me contingent. I still work there next month, like one random day. But but yeah, it wasn't, I can't say there was really a moment. I think it was just, I got kind of burnout and knew that I needed to change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then what, like made you decide to do it on your own versus going and working, just renting a booth somewhere or going and working with someone else somewhere else?
So I fully anticipated when I graduated, I was between two options. I wanted to go back and become an instructor, or I wanted to work at like a med spa. That's kind of where I was. All through school, not one time did I say, oh, I'm going to do this on my own. And sometimes, tragedies happen that I think make you aware of like just how precious life is, or like it just like alters your view on things. And we had lost my nephew. He was 6 months old to RSV and COVID in November. And it was kind of like that moment I took like a couple months off, and it got to the point where you just realize that there's nothing matters but your family. And I think that's where I was planning on going and working full time, but I would have been sacrificing the time with my kids, and having that happen just put it into perspective that that's not where I needed to be. I needed to find something that worked for my family. So then that was where I was like, you know what? I am going to wing it and figure it out. So that's kind of what did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, so Tracy, how about you kind of share some of your backstory and what led to this journey as well?
Well, I have been a nurse since 2017. And I went into nursing with the mindset of like, I wanted to help others feel better. I like to help, people, especially in a time that they're like so low in their lives.
Yeah.
But then COVID hit, and I realized that it's not an all like happy, hunky-dory workspace.
Yeah.
I don't make my clients feel better all the time. Most days I'm jabbing large needles in their arms. I do dialysis right now. I mean, I do it part-time now, but I was doing it full-time at the time. So they're coming in and getting their blood drained from their body and cleaned through a machine, and they feel like crap. I'm not making them feel better. And then COVID hit, and it was just an even more depressing environment.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just kind of started getting online and searching for different like routes to take for a career path. And I came across cosmetic tattooing. I had personally like just been watching short clips and stuff over time. And then I found a school kind of local in Cincinnati to attend. And I talked it over with my fiance, and he was totally supportive, and I went and did it, and I'm glad I did. I still work as a nurse, though, part-time. I don't think I'll ever stop doing that because I'm big on, like, bedside care.
Yeah.
But I like coming to work and actually, like, making people happy and feel better versus, like, them not feeling good when they leave my care at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So both of you came from kind of traditional healthcare.
Yeah.
And then how did you find each other, and how did you decide to do this venture together?
So we actually went to school together. We grew up together, sleepovers, sports. We grew up as really good friends. So, and then after school, she describes it as I fell off the face of the earth. I moved to Alaska.
She did.
I had kids young. I was just in mom mode. So, and then ironically enough, when she was doing dialysis, my grandpa was one of her patients who, again, is like my father. So like, it's just ironic how you just reconnect over
Yeah. Our
different
cross
things.
our
And
paths again.
yeah, so then that kind of happened. And when I was looking at places, I had looked at several different spots downtown. And I quickly realized that there's a lot more to this than I knew or felt comfortable just jumping in. So I remember I went and looked at a place, and I was on the line of getting ready to jump in. And I sat in the car and I called, I think I messaged you on Facebook or called you
called me
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, are you still doing this? Because at the time I know the place she was at previously had just closed. So I was like, are you still interested in this? Would you want to do this with me? Like, let's do it fully together. And she immediately was like, yeah, actually, this is what I've been wanting to do.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the right time to find somebody to open a space up. I knew I did not want to do it alone.
Okay.
And it's so funny that she called me, because when she told me she was going to school, part of me wanted to be like, hey, you want to open up a salon when you're done? But I was like, I'm going to let her take her like path and see where, it goes. And I don't know. Great minds think alike, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you were looking at different spaces, and then I know you reached out to our team and came through the space here downtown at 165 West Center. And again, you walked in and you're like, this is not what we want, but it could be.
Yep.
Right. So how did that conversation go?
We had checked out a lot of spaces actually before we contacted you. And I told her that I had previously been in this building with Toy Jackson, and we enjoyed the space, and you were great to work with. And so we just kind of took a jump and was like, do you have anything available?
And coffee dates and conversations of what it kind of came down to. We're like, okay, price, location,
and you being like super supportive of downtown.
Yeah. We wanted just what's our priority? Like, what is the most important to us, and what can we accommodate? So it just worked out.
Yeah, yeah, it did. And I mean, I'm so glad that you're here, and it's, I think, a win-win all the way around. I mean, obviously I love seeing you ladies win. I'm, cheering for you and trying to help where I can. And your proximity to other beauty services, like in the building, I think has just been super fun. I don't know if you want to kind of speak to that, like having some other ladies around. Yeah.
Like,
they're very
supportive. Yes. Like, they are just so kind. And it's so convenient. Everybody that comes up, they're like, oh, I didn't even know you're up here. And I'm like, yes, there's a hair salon, there's an esthetician, because being an esthetician, I get a lot, like, do you do facials? I'm always like, no, but Amanda next door, like, she's incredible.
Yes.
Terry's pretty established. She doesn't seem like she wants more clients. I think she's pretty good, but she has sent me so many clients for myself. And
she's also like sent me ideas too to like bring folks in, and they're so supportive.
Yes. Yeah. And that, honestly, that's a lot of it, is you have, in this industry, you just got to be a girl's girl.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Terry and other Tracy, they're, it's like on a like sports team, having like the veteran player, that's like kind of the person that like helping and like giving advice, and like they've been around the block and they've been through good seasons and bad seasons. And so having that like kind of in, basically like right next door. Yeah. I think
they've
is
been
great.
Incredible.
And their ability to, to share clients, and just because it's great for them too, because if they have a client that says, oh, I really need, or really like this particular service, and they can be like, right, literally
right there,
5 steps down the hallway here, we can get you set up. So, so that's great. I love that. So, I mean, we kind of talked about the whole journey, like leading up to the leap, but our leap segment that we try to do every episode here. I mean, do you each remember, was there a particular conversation or coffee meeting or wherever where you were like, yes, we're going to do this. We've been talking about it. We've looked at spaces. We think we've decided on one. Like, we're ready to go.
I think we're both pretty impulsive people. Like, we both just jumped in
It
and
was
did
after our
not
final
stop.
Zoom meeting with you. Actually, we had gotten off the phone, we had called each other, and it was pretty. I think we played the hardball, like, oh, let us sit and talk about it. I'm not
Right.
sure, but it was an immediate. We're like, all right, let's just do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Feels right.
Yeah, I love it. I make a lot of decisions that way as well, it seems. And it generally works out. Like
Most of
sometimes
the
you're like,
time.
maybe should have thought this through a little
Yeah.
more, got to do a little more than what we thought it was going to take. But hey, here you are.
Yeah.
And I think that, how long has it been now? 6 months?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
alrighty.
I mean, it's amazing. I think how far you've come in 6 months from like not having a business to now having well-established business, clientele that are telling their friends and family members. You've got a great looking space, something that you can be really proud of. You got great kind of partners within the building that you're sending them business and vice versa. And
We've added a nail tech also,
Yeah.
Valerie. Shout out to Valerie.
yes,
She's
all right.
amazing.
Okay. Yeah. So she's officially
And she
installed
brings
now.
so much foot traffic and clients as well.
Yeah, she
And,
does.
Yeah, she's very supportive as well. She fits us, our personalities very well.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And again, from a downtown kind of community perspective, I love beauty services because you're creating foot traffic, and our goal is that we're all working together, and that not only are we sharing clients and folks between beauty services, but also to go get coffee and to meet another girlfriend for lunch at one of the local restaurants, or do a little bit of shopping before or after their appointment. And so I think just that ongoing foot traffic, every like half hour or hour, from every salon space and beauty space is great. So something that we chatted about just briefly before we hopped on here was being moms. So you're both moms and now business owners, and not just business owners, but I mean, you're going and actively working in the business multiple days a week. And then, Tracy, you've got another part-time gig and balancing all the activities and all of that. So often people tell me, well, I just don't know if I could ever have my own business because I've got kids and their activities, and I don't want to miss out. And I think that I have to make a lot of sacrifices to do that. What would each of you say to somebody like that?
For me personally, I would say if you have a good support system, you can do anything. If it was not for my husband and my family, mostly my grandma, there was so many nights where like Cole and I would be here all day, sometimes till 1 a.m. And you think about, where's your kids? Like, you have 3 kids. My grandma had them, and she was willing to, like, can I take them food? Let me go get them. They want to stay. Which that plays a really big role. I don't think I would be as confident as I am to make these risky jumps if I did not have that support, or even just having somebody there. It's not been all sunshine. There has been many times where I'm like, I don't know if this is worth it. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And just having the right person be like, you can do it. What needs done? Let me help you. Because I am stubborn. I don't like to ask for help. But just having somebody understand that and be like, look, this isn't, we're all here. Like, let's do it. And having that is, I think, the key to it for me. I think anything's possible. You just gotta want it.
Yeah, so many of our guests, as we've kind of had similar conversations, have mentioned like their family, their spouse or partner, or their extended family, their parents, the aunt or grandma, or somebody that's like really helping kind of bridge the gap, especially during. I mean, I think you're speaking to like especially during like you're like doing all the painting and the decor and all of that kind of ramp up, setup time and everything. You're not making money yet. And so there's an urgency to get the place done so that you can open and start getting some income. So, those were, it sounds like really, particularly where you needed that support system.
And there's a lot, I think, just finding the understanding, you have to balance the time. I mean, weekends were for the kids. So you have to take that time to, and just and communicating to them like, hey, this is my goal. it's going to take us away for a little bit. Like, that doesn't mean, you know, you're on the back burner. It's just, I have to get this done so that we can have more time together. Yeah. And just having, like, my kids have been so resilient and so supportive. And they tell me, my sons will tell me all the time, like, how cool I am and just how proud they are. And my 5-year-old the other day was like, I want to be a business owner when I grow up. And it just, those things are really important. And you just got to communicate and be transparent so they know what's going on. And I think that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. On the recent episode with my wife, Lindsay, we talked about some of these same dynamics and the challenges, but also the fact that our kids are watching, you know, and I think that they see the hard work that you're putting in, and they see the way that you're pulling together with Cole and with your other family members and how everyone's pitching in. And, like, you know, I think these will be formative times for them, and seeing how you worked and sacrificed. And then hopefully, you know, we'll also be able to see some of the benefits of those sacrifices as you gain more, you know, income and or flexibility as time goes on. So that's really cool. Tracy, what about you?
What was the question?
Yeah, so just kind of like being a mom.
Yes,
you know, how are you juggling all of that? And if somebody told you, I don't think I can have a business because I'm a mom, like, what would you say?
Just do it. I mean, you're going to have to, like, sacrifice and get behind and stuff. Like, I don't think I'll ever catch up on laundry in my house, but it is so rewarding to see your kids' reactions to you winning. Like, I mean, I've got a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 10-month-old. So obviously the youngest two, like, don't quite understand what's going on. But my 6-year-old is my biggest hype man. Like,
I love that.
I go home and he wants to see any photos of, like, work I've done, and he gives me a high five, and he's amazing. But I mean, you just got to do it. Like, you make it work. I can't say, like, I've got a lot of support, but I can't say it's been consistent through this journey, and we just make it happen. If you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, I sacrifice certain things. Like, my laundry's not caught up, and I'm not always home in the evenings to cook dinner like the boys would like me to be, but we're making it work. So
Yeah.
I think moms are a lot more resilient than they give themselves credit for.
Yeah.
And I think it's really just the fear holding them back. But
yeah, and
you've
I've
already had a baby. Like, you are raising humans.
Exactly.
Like, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. And you want to do the best for your kids. You want them to see you winning.
Yeah.
You don't want to, like, show them any negative energy. You want them to see all the good. So this is definitely a good thing to, like, introduce to your children if you're nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I really love that perspective. I feel like what I've observed is some, like, kind of like mom guilt for not being there all the time, like not getting them off the bus every single day, not making dinner every single day, not doing homework every single day, you know, and, like, kind of feeling that pressure to do all of that. But I love the alternate perspective you're bringing, which is, yes, but it's also like teaching them some more responsibility or resilience or being part of this journey that they're getting to see unfold.
Both of our boys, like, all of them, have been in the salons from the beginning, like, from painting and putting floors in to today. We still have them up there sometimes when nobody wants to take them. Like, they got to go to work with us.
Yeah.
And they get to see it happen, and they enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think for them too, it's they are gonna, I guess, maybe we don't realize it now, but in the long run, I hope that they're watching. These things aren't being handed to us,
Right.
And so that they're not going to grow up expecting to be handed things. Like, they've seen Cole and I, anything we've wanted. Like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of tears. It's a lot of emotions. But the final result, I mean, it's always worth it. And they're growing up around that, and I think that's the bigger side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really love that. Again, in that episode that with Lindsay, she shares a lot about, like, some of her fondest childhood memories are going to the family business and, like, being there and being able to spend time with her family members, her parents and some of her extended family worked there, and just, you know, like, as a kid, like, what's better, you know, than kind of getting to, like, hang out and see where your parents work and, like, you know, realize that they're kind of building this thing and be part of it. So
And I
That's really
also
fun.
think it's just a season. So, like for us, we were really busy, and there was a lot. The mom guilt, it was bad for a couple months, but it's over. Like that was literally just a season of our life. We got through it, and now I drop my kids off at school. I come to work. When I'm done working, I go pick them up. They have no idea that I'm even. They probably don't even think I have a job because they don't. I've been able, you just got to bust it out. You got to really grind. And then
That is a positive
make
to the
it-
leap. Like
yeah.
as a business woman, as a mother, like you are giving yourself more freedom. Like we can take our kids to school. Like if they have a doctor's appointment, we don't have to schedule off work. We just schedule around it. It's nice to have that flexibility as a parent.
Right.
And I
Right.
think for a lot of people too, not to keep rambling, but we are moms and we're moms first. And
Yeah.
I think that's, it's important to make that a priority. For me, working a job, I've done the stay-at-home mom thing. It's not for me. I don't want to stay at home. I love my kids, but not all day. I want to get out and
fair.
socialize. And it's for me. I think the mom guilt was worse when I felt like I was being accommodated because my husband he's the main provider. I am the main caretaker. And I want to be able to be that and still work. But if, I'm sure a lot of moms can relate. If your kid is sick, if the babysitter cancels, you are being forced to choose, okay, am I home with my kids? Or if I call off work, does that make me, I feel like a bad employee? I want to excel at both. I want to be a hard worker. I want to be a great mom. So I would rather sacrifice those couple months versus the many instances where like it's unpredictable. And that was worse for me, was feeling like having to choose between which to excel at.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you're ultimately saying if someone wants to start a business and they have certain priorities at home and they want to, be there for certain activities or whatever throughout their kids growing up or through the course of the week, that you just got to kind of make non-negotiables around those. And then that's why you're doing this is part of like being able to be more flexible. So.
And there was an event we had hosted. We were so excited about it. We had it planned for a month. And last minute, leading up to the event, I was supposed to have all these services. And my son's baseball team, the coach had reached out and said, "Oh, hey, we have to move this game to this day." And of course, it fell right during the event. And I went back and forth, and I'm like, okay, it's one game. What if I just miss this one game? And I immediately I was just questioning, what do I do? Because, you have an obligation to your business also. I represent Beyond Beauty Lounge. And it's like, okay, how would that look? Well, then the coach was like, oh yeah, he's going to get a pitch, which would be his first time pitching. And I was like, yep, nope, I will not be at the event. And I think I was more nervous about everybody's reaction. There was not everybody was so supportive. They're like, no, you only get so many moments with your kids. Like you can have another event.
Yep.
And I think that was, if you're going into it with your children being the priority, just stick to it. And the people that are supporting it, that's who you want as your clientele anyway.
Right.
So I think it's less scary. You just got to do it. It's really just that first initial okay.
The leap. Yeah, it is. It is. That's great. Well, thanks so much for sharing your stories and your perspectives on that. So, I mean, kind of shifting gears a little bit. So as you look back, first 6 months or so here under your belt, I'm sure that you had some maybe preconceived ideas about how this would all go, but what have been some unexpected challenges that you've encountered along the way?
Probably, I mean, like Haylee said, brows are really important, and people get fixated on them. They're on their face. So there's a thing you learn that you can't have sister brows, you have cousin eyebrows, or something like that, right?
They're sisters, not twins.
Yeah, people will get fixated, and sometimes people are not going to be happy with your services, especially when they leave our care. Like usually things are very bold and loud, and it's a disappointing feeling when someone leaves your hands and they're not like in love with your service. That was something like really hard to stomach because like I'm quite a perfectionist, and I just want to like keep working at it then to like make
It's called
them
brow
happy.
shock, and that's a whole other segment.
But usually,
Okay.
brow shock. So they'll like call you the week after and be like, "Oh, I love them. I love my brows."
Yeah.
But you have to deal with a week of grief because somebody left your care and they was not happy with your service, and that's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And it is. It's typically like, oh, those first 24 hours were rough, but then they're like, oh no, I love them now, or they're back. So obviously,
Wow.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But explaining to people like, we are changing your appearance,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
some way, and your brows are a focal point. So getting them through that.
Brow shock.
Yeah.
Brow shock.
What have you done to like kind of adjust for that? Now do you sort of like coach people
Really
beforehand a
reiterate.
little
Educate,
bit
for
that
sure.
like we are, this, if we're doing our job, you're going to look a little different
Yes.
than
And
you
I
did
think
before,
just
right?
asking more questions, because I know like my services are temporary. So, but it's a range of services. I offer just a brow wax with a tint, a brow wax with a stain. What's the difference between a tint and a stain? There's so many different things. So just learning and saying, okay, what is your goal? Are you wanting to maintain this? Like, how often are you wanting to come back for this? Are you wanting it as low maintenance as possible? Do you wear makeup every day? What color do you feel? Like, there's so much that goes into it. And just trying to really understand their wants and needs, and telling them you're probably not going to love them today. And then
Yeah.
it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay. That's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that, but
For me, I think
I
the
get
tax
that.
side of things has
Okay.
been,
Yeah, you've been terrified of the
Or
tax
the-
side.
I'm not
all the
educated
businessy
enough.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, finances are scary because you don't want to mess up and go to prison or anything crazy.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So have you kind of addressed that? Have you gotten
So
with some
I've-
professionals?
I think what it is, yes, I'm scheduled to meet with somebody. I think what it is just trying to, I'm not someone who's ever kept a receipt. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I'll throw it away. But now having to retrain myself to be like, yes, I need a receipt, or like, oh, don't put it on this card, put it on that card. Like, it's
Right.
juggling that and just trying to retrain yourself to do those things. That has been my biggest struggle. And to hold on to receipts, because I love throwing things away when I feel cluttered.
Yeah. What some people may not realize about running a business is, having a business is like, in the eyes of like the IRS and the government, the business is like another person. The business is another entity. So you kind of have to keep everything separately. So you can't, write a personal check for a business thing or vice versa. And so learning to do that, I mean, it's simple once you get it going, but it's not easy to create some of those habits and get into the right habits with all of that. So I get that. That's
social
good.
media has been hard as well. Like staying consistent and being present like all the time on social media. So I guess marketing is hard as well.
Yeah. We've had a lot of guests share that same thing, just that the marketing, it's kind of like a full-time job, but yet
It is.
as a small business owner, you really can't pay someone, full-time to do your social media, but you've got to be relevant and you've got to be current and you've got to kind of stay in front of your audience, just because everyone's so busy and distracted that, it's easy for them to forget about you. So, I mean, how have you established a rhythm with that to
I
to
feel like
be
we get
consistent?
on good streaks and then life
It'll be like a week of
life
nothing.
gets a hold of us and we kind of like fizzle out and then we're right back at it. I mean, we've stayed with it. It's just there might be like a gap, like a few days where we slack, which a lot of time are our weekends, I feel like, when we're out with our family.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah, I guess if we utilize the scheduled post options on stuff, we probably could be winning a lot more on that end. But
That is a good hack.
I try when my kids are at football practice. I try really hard to watch the whole practice, but I don't always understand what's going on. But I try to utilize that time as, okay, they're occupied. Let me get all my before and afters together. Let me try and make some things when they're not like, oh, mom's on her phone, because that was the biggest struggle, was the balance. Because like when I go home, I want to be present. I don't want to just be on my phone. And in the beginning, that was, I struggled with that because I'm like, well, I have this, and this to do. So
You have to set like times.
Boundaries.
Like you
Yes.
can't leave work at work as a business owner, but you also have to like give yourself time frames. Like, you know, dinner and bedtime, there's no phone. And in the mornings before the kids get up is normally when I do like my before and after photos or any social media. Because you're right, like the phone consumes you. Your scheduling, your marketing,
Right.
everything.
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, do you feel like you've found a rhythm of the boundaries as well around some of that?
I think it's getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always room to
It depends
improve.
on the week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think every small business owner is challenged by that,
Yeah.
just because there's always an infinite number of things you could or arguably should be doing for your business, but also things that you could or should be doing for your family, for your
Yeah.
relationship, for your friends, for
Yeah.
yourself. And so trying to find that rhythm. And I agree. I don't think that it's probably ever like a perfect balance. I think it's like kind of seasons of, you know, up and down. Well, hey, I need to, you know, it's the holidays, so I'm going to, you know, spend a little more time with family, and I'm going to kind of pull back on this other
Yeah.
thing. And then summer, it's maybe this or that, or so it's challenging. And so
Yep.
I get that. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys but I think it sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things in terms of just trying to find those boundaries and communicating with your kids, with your spouse, you know, to say, hey, I've got to, you know, do a little bit more. I've got a few things, you know, I've got to schedule a post for tomorrow, but then once I do, we can, you know, talk or take a walk or go play outside or whatever. So that's good. What about kind of the opposite of that? If you already answered that, we can pass. But and like an unexpected joy of this business, maybe that you didn't necessarily see coming, but has been.
So
Good.
I'm more of a social person compared to my husband, whereas I feel like maybe before that was a little bit of a disconnect because I'm always like, if there's a free day, I'm like, how can we fill it? And I think that's how my family is. Like we grow up like, oh, we're doing nothing. Let's go to the zoo or let's go to a beach. Very spontaneous. And so I think what has helped is I talk to girls all day, and I still feel like I don't work. I come here and I just have girl time all day. And that's
Yeah.
truly what it feels like. But then like I'm spending all day talking and conversating and getting my cup filled, my social cup filled in that way. So then when I'm home, I'm a lot less anxious to be like, okay, because now I go home and I'm like, let's just stay in. And my husband
Yeah.
really appreciates that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's cool. Tracy? any thoughts?
Fulfillment. Probably the ladies I get in like remission, who've lost their eyebrows from treatment. It's super rewarding. They come in, obviously, self-esteem is very low.
Wow. Yeah.
They've already been through a lot, and they leave with these beautiful, bold brows, and they have like their confidence back that they
Yeah.
had before having cancer. It's been fun watching those women come in and leave.
Yeah. Oh, what a gift you're able to give them. That is super cool.
Yeah.
What about zooming out a little bit? I feel like having been downtown, you sort of joined kind of the Downtown Marion community and are getting a little more plugged in with events and things that are going on. You know, what's something that you see that you feel like you have a unique perspective on down here that you're excited about for Marion?
I think a lot of what's exciting to watch and witness is the increase in like foot traffic, and like we'll set up in the window and you just see all these people all the time. And I remember that wasn't a thing. Like let's say 10 years ago, we never really came to Marion, and we would always designate like a day out of the weekend to go to Columbus and be like, okay, let's get whatever shopping, dining, entertainment, date night. We would have to drive out of town for that, and you're factoring, you know, the gas, the time of driving. Whereas I would say even as far as like the last year or two, we very seldom go out of town anymore. And I think that's really exciting to just like be a part of and witness. And I love seeing new places open and just like the excitement to try it. And like, it's just, there's always something new going on, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that as well. And I mean, I think it takes people kind of having that attitude of like, wow, we've got all this stuff locally. Yeah, sure, we could go out of town. I mean, we have the means, we might even, have the time, but why not support what's here in our backyard? And especially as you are part of the downtown community, you get to know these people, and you're like, well, I'd much rather, shop at Maddie's or Spruce and Sparrow, or like, somewhere where I know the people than, go to some, boutique in, the big city or whatever.
Yeah.
So I love that. Tracy, how about you? Something you're excited about for Marion?
I'm just enjoying watching the momentum. Everybody's really coming together. And it is like 10 years ago, this was not what downtown looked like. So it's nice to see a change of pace around the area. Marion, it's not that bad. Those tattoos.
That's right.
Definitely. Like, I agree. It's not that bad. It's really becoming a good thing. Everything looks great downtown.
I think I have mixed feelings about the not that bad thing, but I think that the sentiment is truly that people outside of Marion see Marion in a better light than sometimes people from Marion. I think that, the way that I've said it also is that people don't recognize the momentum as quickly as what it's actually happening.
Yeah.
And so, And so those of us that have kind of a front row seat, it's really exciting to see. And I think it becomes almost our job to share with everyone.
I do love seeing the progress in Marion because, as you can tell, like the closest cities next to us, like Delaware and Marysville, are overgrowing, and expanding so much. Like it's have a trickling effect here.
Which off of that too, I have a client who this kind of really put it into perspective to me, because I do feel like everybody's like, oh, Delaware. That's like, you always hear about it. But she was saying she lives there, and she's like, I love coming to Marion. She's like, she's a teacher, and she's like, we don't have a craft store. And we were, we got onto that topic, and she's like, I still have to go to Columbus, or I have to go somewhere else. And there was one time I was in Delaware, and I was looking for something for my son, sports related, and I'm looking around. My brother works in Delaware, and I'm calling him, and I'm like, where can I get this? And he's like, you're gonna have to go to Marion. The Dunhams are somewhere. And I'm like, well, I'm in Delaware. Like, I don't, like, you guys don't have any sporting goods store. Like, they're really, like, the resources that Marion has.
There's a good variety.
Yeah, I think
Compared
we're
to
better
some,
than
yeah.
Delaware. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I do hear that more and more, people kind of anecdotally that are coming from Delaware to Marion. They're like, hey, there's, especially like boutique shopping and some of the like specialty stores, different restaurants, and like parking is abundant.
Yes.
Here. They're like, I don't have to fight for a parking spot. It's great.
Yeah, that is huge. I love the parking.
Yeah, it's great. So I think that, so just back to the point of that so often, kind of like we don't see it happening here as quickly sometimes. And like other people, like there's people like come from out of town to like attend an event at the Brickyard or something.
Yeah.
And like the way that they talk about in their like reviews and stuff, just that like, we loved walking around. Like everyone was so friendly. It was so quaint. And, we just really loved our stay. Marion is so, so great.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, people, get in Facebook groups and say, nothing to do, and so.
And I really do. Like, I have gone into Maddie's on Mains. The Remnant, I am there every day, I think. Just everybody is so kind. Spruce and Sparrow, Lulu's Toy, like everybody is so genuine. And it is really neat because I guess like you go to other towns and it's
very good energy downtown.
It's cool to like be like, oh, I know this person, or like we're friends on Facebook, and just to see them thrive, and everybody is willing to just come together, and it is super cool.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you guys have jumped in and are, being part of the downtown and getting to know some of your business neighbors and all of that. That's that's what makes a community. And I think that's what's cool about downtowns is that, everything's like right here, and you're intermixing, and you're passing them on the sidewalk as you go, down to get coffee or go grab lunch somewhere, and people and you see them regularly, and that's cool. So that's something that is easy to lose kind of in today's day and age. So so I think that's something special that we have. So kind of rounding the corner, as you went on this journey, not only like perfecting your craft and what you're doing specifically, but learning the business side and the marketing and all of that, has there been any resources that you would share if there was someone out there listening that's kind of on a similar path, like that are either inspirational or educational, whether it's books or podcasts or anything like that that you've enjoyed through this journey?
Find a bestie and just bounce off of one another. I don't know
There you
what else
go.
to say.
So I've taken courses. I've gone to seminars. There's a premier event in Columbus coming up that I look forward to every year. And they're helpful. I do learn a lot of things from that. I'm a hands-on learner. But I will say, like, I have learned the most from my clients because there's and I think maybe it's more tailored to, like, what we do specifically.
Yeah.
Nobody's the same. Like, everybody, your skin type's different, your brow shape, your insecurities, everything is so different. There's such a diversity and just opportunity. And I will look back at brows that I did 6 months ago and be like, oh, I should not have done that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that until I figured it out one day. And I think just
You don't get better at something until you actually do it
That's
and
truly
repetitively do
yeah.
it. Like, I agree. The education that I received only taught me so much until I got into the field and started doing it myself.
Yeah.
And then I finally actually started perfecting things. Like,
Yeah, I would say, there's not
You just
really, I'm
gotta
not
do
much
it.
of a book reader. I've listened to podcasts, but not really to this specific.
Yeah.
Just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, being where you are, in the chair there with your clients, like the feedback loop is like pretty quick. So, they literally tell you on the spot if they like it or not, or would like it done a little bit differently, and
Yeah.
continuing to learn about those
And
preferences.
like girls I went to school with, there was a couple girls I got really close to. We talk every day still, and we are constantly sending pictures like, hey, how would you have done this different? Or like, what do you think about this? And I think that's really helpful because they're going to tell me their honest opinion. And it's really nice to have people who kind of understand what you're doing and are willing to give you that constructive criticism.
Yeah.
been good.
Yeah. That's great. Great feedback. I mean, a lot of it is just in your network. Getting people that'll give you honest feedback and that'll help you and that'll
being
listen
open
on
to
the rough
taking it.
days.
Because you're not going to be for
constructive
everybody.
criticism.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's plenty of people. And I think that's too, you have to give yourself that grace of you're not for everybody and not dwell on it.
Yeah.
Just know, like, that's okay. Like,
Yeah. Another small business lesson there. I think that just it takes a little while of being a business to really find out who you serve the best. And you can't serve everyone the best. And so it takes a little while, and it is sort of humbling and to come to that point where you say, like, okay, this person, like, or this population of people, like, I'm just not as good at serving them. And so I need to figure out who I really resonate with, how I can do the best for these particular clients, and then double down on serving those people. And I mean, it sounds like that's where you're getting is like you're figuring out who those people are and how you can really bring value to them. So that's great. So if someone is hearing all this and they're like, I need to talk with these ladies. They are speaking my language. They are talking about what I need in my life. Tell us how they can get a hold of you and maybe talk about services at Beyond Beauty Lounge.
so we have our, I would say our Facebook page.
That's our main.
That's our main.
Yeah.
We've got, we try to post different things and educational things about kind of what we do, what is it, reach out, message. We're always willing to have
We
a
have a
conversation.
website as well attached to our Facebook and to our, like, we have individual personal Instagram accounts that we post to. We have a booking website, but we usually accommodate people's schedules as well. So if they message us or text us, we usually will work around their schedule too.
Yep. Okay. So it's just Beyond Beauty Lounge on Facebook.
Yeah.
And folks can kind of, from there,
We have our
get your
booking link
booking
in our
link and all
bio,
of
and
that.
that'll show like a list of all of our services and pricing, as well as like what availability we have. And again, if you're looking on there, and I tell clients all the time, if you need a later time or you see something that's not really working in your schedule, do not hesitate to reach out, because 90% of the time we are willing to accommodate, because again, we're moms and we understand that things don't always work out. So
Yeah. And physically located here, 165 West Center Street, Suite 202. 203. Sorry, I should know. But obviously, it's a great place, easy to get in and out of. Private parking lot here, elevator to the floor, so you're easy to find, easy to get to, and then easy to find your digital presence to learn a little more, and see if you can help their particular situation. So, thank you again so much for being on with me. This has been a fun conversation, and just hearing more of your story, and wish you much more success as you continue rolling here and continue building your brands, and just continuing to give that gift to so many ladies, and with your services. So thanks for what you're doing.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and those of you listening, thank you again for listening to the Main Street Reimagined podcast. I would consider it a personal favor if you would share it with someone else who might be interested in learning about these ladies, learning about Downtown Marion, just getting some inspiration for maybe taking a leap themselves with a new business. And if you would rate and review us on your podcast player of choice, I would greatly appreciate it. We will talk soon in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Main Street Reimagined podcast. To learn more about Main Street Reimagined, Henry Development Group, or our work in downtown Marion, Ohio, please visit mainstreetreimagined.com. If you want to connect, or if you know someone who we need to interview, shoot us an email at info@mainstreetreimagined.com. Until next time, keep dreaming and don't be afraid to take the leap.